Saturday proved a historic, revolutionary event for Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Despite knowing they would be branded far-right, racist, and extremist by the crooked and corrupt British political establishment, enemies of true patriots, well over 1 million Brits from all walks of life, all colours, all political stripes, all backgrounds, marched on central London because we know our disunited kingdom is under threat. We know we have a Britain-hating government trying to destroy our homeland. But what was so incredible is bringing these million people together was a genuinely inspiring moment. I was there from early in the morning and witnessed absolutely no violence within the perimeter. Indeed, it was the most tolerant and peaceful crowd of over 1 million people I have ever seen in my life. And that's why what happened next, if predictable, was still deeply disappointing and disturbing. The true enemies of the people, the MSM, decided to push a narrative that had been set long before anyone set foot on Whitehall. This was just a group of violent thugs and hooligans. And by the way, it wasn't just the left-wing outlets that did this. Look at these headlines from the Daily Express and the Daily Mail. They were looking for trouble. And it truly disgusts me because the people in attendance are their readers. They are good people. Now, of course, what came from the British Bashing Corporation was no surprise. As Bernie Spofforth put it, fake news and misinformation by the BBC, calling the Unite the Kingdom March in London a far-right anti-migration march of tens of thousands. They must do everything they can to frame this as a racist protest. If they don't, then their entire narrative falls away. I have utter contempt for this fake news. Watch.
Happening in London today. We have these pictures from close to, this is actually a Waterloo Bridge. This is where protesters are gathering at a rally, ahead of a rally organised by the far-right activist Stephen Yaxley Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson. It's reported that tens of thousands are gathering in the capital for those rallies. Most of the people there gathering, demonstrating against rising migration in the UK.
And even after the event was pulled off, with no disturbances inside the perimeter, zero violence near the stage, the fact that the police had overseen a tiny scuffle between patriots and Antifa demonstrators completely dominated the MSM coverage. As Tommy Robinson put it, comparing the narrative with that of the violent Notting Hill Carnival, no prizes for guessing which event the legacy media bent over backwards to smear. Here was the dishonest report, for example, from Sly News.
There were so many of them that they couldn't squeeze into their dedicated area near Parliament Square. So what they did was to loop around through the side streets and come up behind the rival march. And that's what led to that early confrontation between the two groups.
In a statement, the Metropolitan Police said officers tried to prevent Robinson's supporters from taking alternative routes. Police said when officers moved in to stop them, they faced unacceptable violence. They were assaulted with kicks and punches. Bottles, flares and other projectiles were thrown.
The numbers for Unite the Kingdom clearly took everyone by surprise. It shocked me when I saw the numbers there. It probably even shocked the organisers. I think the number did overwhelm the police and surprised them, and probably surprised some of the cordons they put in place in certain areas to try and keep these groups apart, and those cordons were breached on occasions.
As the two rallies ended, some protesters were reluctant to leave, and there was lingering tension.
But that wasn't the full story, not even close. As the Grift report revealed, approved route, yet police led Antifa there? And Met Police say patriots started it? How does that work? The Met Police put them there on purpose. That's why. And by the way, these Antifa extremists were truly horrendous, vile people with chants about the assassinated Charlie Kirk being in a box and Narinder Kaur antagonising the crowd. Watch.
We're on your side today. want to be here on our side but can't be, and for all the stupid bastards that are saying anything against us from your bed, you're not there.
This is what community looks like. Tell me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Tell me what community looks like. This is what community looks like.
And Don Keith exposed the two-tier policing that was going on the day.
Just a quick question. Why are there no cops in riot shields over here on this side? Okay, record me. So Don Keith, I want you guys to see something. I just posted about the different crowds here. We've got the pro-free speech, the people who want to save Britain over on this side, the freedom-loving folks, and right here on this street we've got the pro-Palestinian crowd. Now, if you look right here, you can see the police are all in riot shield for optics position. The patriots, they come out in front of the crowds and they wear their riot shield so that the media will see them in their riot shield, and makes the folks on the pro-free speech, the anti-immigration folks, the folks who love Great Britain, the police make them look bad with their riot shields and the riot gear. Now, if you look, you see the pro-Palestine crowd here. There's absolutely no police in riot shields, no helmets, nothing for optics purposes. They want them to appear to be the peaceful crowd. So it looks like eventually it'll look like we're the bad people. That's what's going on here with the police, the UK police. And you can see that no riot shields, no riot gear, riot shields, all for optics, also that the media can see that the patriots, the people who love Great Britain, are the bad guys. Unbelievable.
Okay, so there's the truth being reported from the ground by an independent reporter like Don Keith. But look at how GB News chose to cover the event with a headline about Elon Musk being accused of endorsing violence, even though they didn't broadcast 1 second of the ex-owner's powerful interview with Tommy Robinson. Instead, I want to show you what led their coverage. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address and sign up today.
I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB newsroom, and we'll start with some breaking news. 25 people have been arrested during a rally which saw more than 100,000 people march through central London in support of free speech. The Metropolitan Police says its officers were subjected to unacceptable violence, with a number of them being assaulted. The force deployed extra officers with protective equipment and police horses to deal with the disorder.
Then Reform UK's Layla Cunningham went live on air and refused to comment on Tommy Robinson whatsoever, in a totally bizarre clash with the vile lefty Matthew Stadlen.
When you label people fascists, it just radicalises them.
Do you think Tommy Robinson is far right?
I'm not here to comment.
But I'm asking, well, why not? We're talking about a Tommy Robinson organised march, because your leader, Nigel Farage, who wants to be next Prime Minister, has been very, very clear. He's probably far right.
Matthew, you're going to interrupt.
You've interrupted every time I've spoken. So, if you're asking me a question, then let me respond.
I've actually got to listen, both of you. On that note, I actually have to wrap it up there, unfortunately.
Went on it knowing that the main organiser of that march was a far-right activist and someone who Nigel Farage, who could possibly be the next Prime Minister of this country, doesn't want anywhere near his party or Layla's party.
Layla?
I agree. Nigel Farage and myself, I'm not going to comment on Tommy Robinson, but what I am saying is what I'm hearing from the people there. One of the younger people were talking about taxes, and we all feel it. We have the highest tax burden since World War II.
This is ludicrous and embarrassing. Why are you not going to comment on Tommy Robinson? How can you deny that he hasn't just brought over 1 million people together? Things got worse, though, on the British Bashing Corporation the next morning, when Christiane Amanpour, the Liberal CNN anchor, made this completely ludicrous claim.
And also, how do we allow 150,000 people who've punched officers, broken noses, broken teeth, and concussions, to spew hate speech like that.
Shame on you. But also, really shocking was the fact that Piers Morgan was sat next to her on that BBC panel and said absolutely nothing to push back, but later posted on X to condemn all these people who attended yesterday's Tommy Robinson protest as far-right thugs is false, just as it's false to say they were all a bunch of angelic choir boys. Many were there because they genuinely care about their country, failed immigration policies and free speech. But that prompted Tommy Robinson to hit back at Piers Morgan. He wrote, "Don't try riding the wave, you wanker Piers Morgan. People like you made it impossible for people to speak out with your baseless labels, racist, Islamophobe, far right. You have been part of the problem, not the solution." And I have to say, Tommy also seemed very annoyed about Neil Oliver's claims of a false flag event over the weekend that I had reported here on Outspoken. Then the Labour leftist, Rosanna Allen Khan, said this.
And I feel, looking at the images from yesterday and my phone blowing up with friends saying, I am scared, what have we become? 30 years later, we find ourselves in a position where there is hate speech, where people who are black, brown, gay, all sorts of difference that should be celebrated are feeling frightened. And what we need now is leadership and unity.
Listen, love, there were so many brown and gay people there, including me. So you really have zero idea what you're talking about. But then the most surprising moment of the whole weekend came when Sly News anchor Trevor Phillips, unlike his colleague I showed you earlier, Martin Brunt, actually reported the truth after being at the rally in person.
The most alarming aspect of the event was just how normal the vast majority of the marches were. I spent an hour or two amongst them, and my own impression was that they were mostly the sort of people you'd meet in a country pub or in half-time queue for the loo at football or at a concert. There was a sprinkling of black and brown faces, and the event was brought to a close by a gospel group singing Jerusalem. All that must worry the traditional mass parties, Labour and Conservatives, now polling at less than 40% between them. They're draining support to parties like Reform and the Greens. And yet, a man recently out of jail, condemned as an extremist thug by most mainstream media outlets, can rally a demo the size of the entire population of Cambridge or Blackpool. A feat you couldn't imagine either Sir Keir Starmer or Kemi Badenoch pulling off anytime soon. Perhaps the people are sending us all a message.
Wow. As Tommy pondered after seeing that, I wonder what the bosses at Sly News were doing in the back rooms as they watched Trevor Phillips give a fair report on our Unite the Kingdom rally. And Advance UK leader Ben Habib added hats off to Trevor Phillips for coming to the protest, seeing it for himself and providing a proper representation of it. No other MSM commentators did, nor did any MPs. I was on the BBC this morning with someone again describing those at the protest as far right. They were salt of the earth British citizens. The establishment is going to be replaced. But here's where things become intriguing. Within minutes of that Trevor Phillips monologue being posted on X, the gutless broadcaster deleted the report, with independent journalist Adam Brooks, who actually spoke on stage on Saturday, writing, Sky News has deleted the post because Trevor Phillips told the truth about the people on the Freedom March. Of course, the MSM also lied about the crowd numbers all day, focusing on a clearly botched police estimate of just 150,000, even though Eva Vladenbroek had posted, I'm in London, there are 3 million people on the streets. It's mind-blowing. This is a revolution. But I think the most telling thing about the regime media coverage was summed up well by Sophie Corcoran, who said it was dripping in grotesque classism and snobbery. Like this from Paul Mason, who wrote, I was near the demo the whole time. It was big and full of numbskulls, but it was nearer 100,000 than a million, and most had no clue where they were going. We can divide them and defeat them, but forget persuading most of them. Like the Nazis of the 1930s, they have given up on class solidarity in favour of white supremacy. Has he not realised after what happened in America just how dangerous that rhetoric can be? Or what about this left-wing comedian who's gone viral with these smears?
Looking at videos of that march today, and there was just this crowd of people, and they said, "Oh, Tommy, Tommy," and they're doing that. And then the video was like, you know, because we're sick of them taking our country, people coming over here, and we need to take it back, and we need to ban the burqa. And I looked at all the women they were next to, and I thought, well, they're the best argument for the burqa that I've seen so far. Surprises people when I say I'm left wing, because I look like I've spent the last couple of weeks putting flags up and down there. Sometimes I go down the road and I don't know what country I'm in, but now I see St George's Cross and I go, oh yeah, I live in England. Fucking babies. Oh, that's why it's good to be up north today, man. They're all down in my city right now. They don't go ruin London for the day. Going down showing you love. You go, oh, I fucking love this country. How do you show it? I go fight the police, that's what I do. Find my can of Strongbow at the cops because I love them. Maybe that's just how they show love, these people. You know what I mean? Just a bit confused. They just attack things they love because they're so emotionally. I mean, it would explain why they hit their wives so much.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I would say to that complete loser, get a haircut and get a real job. And stop slamming your fellow patriots. Then we come to Slippery Starmer himself, who wrote, "People have a right to peaceful protest. It is core to our country's values, but we will not stand for assaults on police officers doing their job or for people feeling intimidated on our streets because of their background or the colour of their skin. Britain is a nation proudly built on tolerance, diversity and respect. Our flag represents our diverse country and we will never surrender it to those that use it as a symbol of violence, fear and division." Now, what's interesting about that is, of course, we had no similar statement from Starmer after the far, far, far more violent and extreme Notting Hill Carnival, so perhaps it's best left to the patriots on the ground to respond. But interestingly, Reform UK took a different stance after seeing this incredible aerial footage of the day. So after seeing that, David Bull posted on X, "This is not hundreds of thousands. This is the silent majority of the United Kingdom." And as I said during our live coverage on the day, that marked a change in tone from Reform UK, who seemed to realise they had lost control of the narrative. So in a press conference today by Nigel Farage, where he announced the highly significant defection of Danny Kruger from the Tories to his party, he refused to repeat his previous criticism of Tommy Robinson, Elon Musk, and famously, that lot. Watch.
As for Saturday, I think the vast majority of people that turned up were good, ordinary, decent people who are very, very concerned about what's happening in this country. I've noticed that the wave of flags that started about 3 weeks ago, going up around the country, far from subsiding, from what I could see this weekend, it's accelerating massively. And it is a collective, two fingers up to a British establishment that they feel utterly betrayed by in every single way. So I fully understand why people would go and march. The comments of Elon Musk you asked me about. Well, Elon and I have a relationship. Wouldn't say a very good one. He's generally rather rude about me, even though I do admire him in many ways. You know, it would be nice to get some clarification of what fight meant in that context. And I'll link it back to something that Danny said earlier. We are radical, but we're not revolutionaries. If the fight that Musk was talking about was about standing up for our rights of free speech, if it was about fighting in elections to overcome the established parties, then that absolutely is the fight that we're in. And the reason you asked the question, I think the context of the way the word was used left a degree of ambiguity.
Okay, so he did okay there. He did okay there. It was an improvement. So we'll sort of take an improvement. But of course, the MSM tried again.
Mr. Musk's concern, look, you know, he's been chucking abuse at me now for 6 months, and you want me to return the favour, don't you? Because it's a great headline. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to abuse Musk or Tommy Robinson or anything. We're going to get on with building what we're trying to build. Thank you.
And they weren't happy with that, so they tried again.
As for the march again on Saturday, look, if some people were offended by it or felt worried by it, then that is a great shame. Tell you what's even worse, the fact that over 50% of women don't feel safe walking the streets of London. Can you believe that in our capital city? Can you believe it? And by the way, that's not just at night time. It includes during daytime too.
So that was a better approach from Farage. But here's the reality, and we have to be honest about this. Not one official representative from Reform UK attended that rally. And as a result, I believe the political momentum on the right is swinging towards Ben Habib, the leader of Advance UK, who received a rapturous response on stage. I spoke to him about it. But first, in today's digital world, your online freedom and safety have never been more under threat, whether it's state overreach, tracking by big tech, or cyber criminals lurking on public Wi-Fi. Indeed, in the UK, just this week, we've now seen many popular sites and important content, even my news reporting here on Outspoken, even important speeches in the House of Commons, censored entirely because of the government's so-called new Online Safety Act. You will have heard, I'm sure, in this discussion, lots of people saying you need to get a VPN to protect yourself and still access all your favorite content. Well, guess what? I have the perfect solution. It's Surfshark, by far the world's best VPN that protects your identity and secures your data. But the great thing is Surfshark is actually so much more than a VPN, and you can go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark to secure your data, protect your freedom, and support Outspoken at the same time. Now look at this. Surfshark's Clean Web feature blocks ads, trackers, malware, and phishing links so you can browse safely without being spied on. And it makes the experience so much easier and more pleasant too. Need to access certain apps or websites without VPN interference, like your banking app, for example? Well, Surfshark's bypasser feature handles that with ease. And if your VPN connection ever drops, Surfshark's kill switch immediately disconnects your device from the internet, keeping your data safe at all times. Plus, with dynamic multi-hop, you can route your connection through 2 different countries at once, doubling your encryption and making tracking nearly impossible. This also means you can freely switch beyond your favorite country lock shows with the click of a button. So you can be watching effectively your favorite TV shows or sport from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. There are other benefits of Surfshark too. You can use it on unlimited devices, meaning your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. And with over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, there is a world of choice at your fingertips. And I know for lots of you, this will be your first time using a VPN, but the great news is that Surfshark offers you 24/7 customer service. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark. And what's more, this is really important. Surfshark is so confident it's the best VPN in the world. Trust me, it is. I use it every single day, that you can give it a try for a full 30 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken or use the code OUTSPOKEN at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. But now, back to the show.
What I have been seeing is absolutely appalling. And this is from across the board, by the way. Centre-right mainstream media, left-wing mainstream media. The British Bashing Corporation has already described today as a far-right protest.
I know, it's unbelievable.
The Daily Mail has run pictures splashed across their front page of their website saying brace for violence. Now, I have seen absolutely no violence. I think that type of messaging is appalling.
It's actually stoking violence.
Yes.
Saying that kind of thing. There's a carnival atmosphere here.
Yes.
And let's hope that prevails.
And by the way, they don't say it about the Notting Hill Carnival.
No, where
there are
violence
murders
takes-
and
Yeah.
stabbings and actual violence.
SAS Who Dares Wins star Ant Middleton also used the event to fully launch his political career and commit to trying to succeed Sadiq Khan as an independent mayor of London. He told me after his very powerful speech that he is going to stick to a radical policy platform.
We have to talk about the damage that Sadiq Khan is doing, though. This is an evil man, and he is destroying the world's greatest city.
Yeah, he is. He's destroyed the world's greatest city.
Sadly, you're right.
And I've got my work cut out, and that's why I want people to remember their roots. I want to remember where they come from. I want them to remember that, you look at our courts. It's Christian. They're done on Christian values, beliefs. Everything is done under Christianity. Look at our calendar year. We've got Easter. We've got Christmas holidays. Every Sunday is going to be church. I think when you try and dive into this multiculturalism, if we're of all cultures, that means we're cultureless, right? And then that means we have no identity.
Yes.
And here's where lies the problem. Sadiq Khan promotes his religion over his people. And that isn't the religion within our country.
Nope.
Our religion within our country is Christianity.
But we have a Home Secretary now, Shabnam Mahmood, who says she is driven by her faith. And that is a Muslim faith, that is an Islam extremist religion.
And this is why I say on my X, I put a point out saying these top tier, and I'm talking about the top tier political positions, they shouldn't have any Muslim mayors. They shouldn't have any, in these top tier positions. I'm not saying, councillors and stuff like that, but I'm talking about people who are making decisions for the people in a Christian country with our Christian culture.
And when people say that you're far right for saying that, what's your response?
Well, no, I know my history. Right? People say, what is British culture? Well, it's pretty simple. It's British history, Dan. When I signed the dotted line at the age of 17 to protect my country and my queen, talk about a history lesson thereafter. I found out everything, about World War I, World War II, where we come from. Christianity is intertwined in our foundations,
and we shouldn't be ashamed of that.
So if when something doesn't go to plan, what do? You always fall back on the foundations, don't you? You always fall back on your training. Well, that's what we need to do, because London and the country is so out of control. We need to almost wipe the slate clean, fall back on our foundations, which are Christian principles, values and morals. And guess what? The courts, our police force, everything, the rules and regulations. There's our British culture and umbrella. You will be sheltered and protected. Don't get me wrong. But you step outside of these boundaries, then you're going to be punished.
Now, this was a day that was filled with high highs like this. But I have to be honest with you, they were tinged with the constant presence of Charlie Kirk. And I spoke to Katie Hopkins about this. I haven't broadcast this interview until now. And by the way, just for a little bit of fun, I am going to leave in what happened after we filmed this interview at Katie's request. You will see why in a moment. Watch.
Katie, the heavens have just opened.
I know. But only temporarily, because there's bright skies ahead.
Yes.
And
is that a metaphor?
I think it's a metaphor.
But I mean, quite appropriate, really. This is a tribute to Charlie Kirk. What was your reaction this week?
I've known Charlie for a long time, and the last time I saw Charlie, it was his party for Donald J. Trump at his inauguration, and I was dancing on a sofa to YMCA, and I fell off backwards. But that's not the point. The point is that Charlie Kirk got to live to see Donald J. Trump elected again, and Charlie Kirk is a massive part of making that happen. And the reason we don't have him anymore is because he would have been president of the United States.
100%.
And I think in his short lifetime, 31 years, his voice has been heard more loudly than people that live for 100 years. And I think this moment has come to pass for a reason, because we all lift him up now.
it make you rethink anything? Question any of your decisions? Worry about what you do?
No, I think the opposite. You know, in a respectful way, it reminds me of those images you see of soldiers and maybe the first line falls and so they march forwards despite that, and that's exactly how I felt. I mean, I felt a little bit like, wait, I'm 50, like, take me, not him. And I'm quite tired, honestly. But also, it makes me feel like onwards, and that's what today is. Onwards we go, towards them. Because good wins. Good wins.
And this is a change, right? This is a change from what you've seen before with Tommy rallies.
There's a whole shift. Everyone's here, not because they're against anything or anyone. They're here because they're for Great Britain. They're for Unite the Kingdom, and they're for, you know, everybody feeling better about the country. And I think that really comes down to it, which is people have been fed up for so long. People have felt so broken for so long. And today just feels like a day where we go, oh, maybe it will be okay.
Because we're together.
We're together.
And maybe unlikely allies.
Unlikely allies, all different walks of life, no agreement required, no one has to get along all the time, but we can be under an umbrella together. And this is a great example. We're under the same umbrella, we want to move forwards together, and we can agree that we don't have to get along. And if Charlie left anyone with that message, it was the message, we don't have to agree, but we can get along.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Dan, love you. Make sure that goes in at the front end, because my critics will be like that.
I still feel so bad. I'm sorry, Katie. But for all of these people who say she really is the biggest bitch in Britain, look at what happened when on her big day, I literally drenched her. But of course, Saturday did belong to Tommy Robinson, who is undoubtedly the only person in the country able to attract such a crowd and the on-stage backing of Elon Musk. So this was a clear challenge now, a clear challenge to both the political establishment, Slippery Starmer, and Nigel Farage too.
The public turned up with the right attitude, because you know the British public, they have a right to be so bloody angry.
Yes.
Right? They didn't bring anger today.
Yes.
Right? They didn't bring anger.
They didn't.
They brought it
And
up.
when you think about what happened just this week to Charlie Kirk in America, we have got through today safely. Sure, the mainstream media...
Let's this be a message for Neil Oliver, for all the other people who tried to scare the public into standing up. If you tried to scare people, you're as much of the problem. At the same time, many of us have got targets on us, not just by the left, okay? Camilla Tominley, she said I'm a white supremacist. She put a target on me.
Yes.
Nigel Farage lied and said that I have convictions of violence against women. He's put a target on me.
Yes.
It's not right. We don't just have the far left or the left wing. Every establishment figure,
Yes.
right, left,
Yes.
if they're in the establishment group, they are lying, smearing and putting targets.
But unfortunately, there have been lies today, Tommy. I'm not sure if you're aware. The BBC, British Bashing Corporation, has spoken about a far-right demonstration. The Daily Mail splashed on its front page before the rally had even began, brace for violence. So it does feel like the mainstream media are still the big enemy.
They're digging their own grave. Do you know why? We had over 2 million watching live.
Yes.
Dan, how many of you had?
We have had over 1 million on YouTube today. Over 1 million on YouTube already.
We are the media, and do you know those million who tuned into you, the 2 million who tuned into us, and the millions who turned up today?
Yeah.
They've seen it's the great British
Yes.
public. It's families.
Yes.
It's women. It's not far right.
And now, my superstar panel. Father Calvin Robinson joins us from the US alongside Lunn Farrow, who was on the ground on Saturday reporting for Urban Scoop. So, Lauren, you were there. How horrified are you to see the misrepresentation, the lies, the smears from the mainstream media?
I'm disgusted. I had to take my daughter to preschool this morning where obviously a lot of people still read mainstream media, and I had looks towards me, and I am not a white supremacist, I am not a Nazi, I am not a fascist, and I am not a racist. And I am utterly disgusted at the hatred the mainstream media are stirring up. I was on the ground from 10 a.m. until the very, very end. I didn't get back to my hotel until 11 p.m. It was one of the best days of my life. I was so proud to be a patriot, and I was there to report for Urban Scoop. But I want to be really clear, I was not paid to do this. And when I asked what the brief was, they said to me, here's your cameraman, record everything. There was nothing off limits. And I was there as well as a mother, as a Christian mother, as a woman that is so hurt by the children that have been failed in the grooming gangs. I was there to make a stand and to show them that I will not give up on them, even though they have been failed by society. And I came into contact with some incredible people that I would not ordinarily cross paths with, from the amazing traveller families to single mums from up north that had brought all of their children down, to the refugee who, you know, is such a patriot, and he was so adamant that he wanted, you know, his country to remain safe, and he didn't feel safe here anymore. I met people from, you know, all different walks of life or ages, and it was such a celebration. I have never felt safer in London than I did at Unite the Kingdom, and I saw nothing like what is being reported. What I did see was, all day, I genuinely felt that there was a real hostility from the police towards us. And I had tried both on and off camera to make polite conversation with them, because I'm always interested to find out, how are you finding it? Is your experience the same as mine? You know, have you encountered any problems? And I felt they were very, very standoffish. And the only time I was scared all day was, and your producer will know this, Dan, because I ran up to her in tears, was Antifa were horrific. If you go backstage, there was the police keeping them back, and they let them get far too close. And it was just really like to see as well, sorry, the mainstream media's coverage. You know, I logged onto my phone when I had reception backstage, and I had lots of messages saying, are you okay? And I was thinking, yeah, you. So, and I checked the mainstream news reluctantly, and I was seeing just the complete opposite of what I had seen. And it's such a shame, because yet again, this is the mainstream doing what they do best, distorting things. But let's not forget, the focus is on, you know, the police and the 25 arrests. And obviously I'm against any form of violence, but I would like to remind people of the 30 plus victims of the grooming gangs who in their statements have alleged that members of the police force raped them, with the youngest child being 11, and they were also alleging that they were given Class A drugs. So if we all want to cherry pick facts like the mainstream are doing, that's one I want to remind people of.
Very, very well put, Lauren, and brilliant reporting on the ground for Urban Scoop. And that's the thing. Likewise with me, I was there to cover this as an independent journalist. I was going to go wherever the story went, but there was no violence. Now, Father Calvin Robinson, you are obviously a veteran of Tommy Robinson rallies, but something was so different on Saturday, Father. Like, I want to show you this headline from the Mail Online today, who are horrified, Father Calvin, totally horrified that the very wonderful Holly Valance, a woman who I know that you know well, was there. You know, because this is one of the most mainstream figures you could possibly get. You know, former star of Neighbours, pop star, Reform UK supporter. Father Calvin, is the tide turning?
The tide has turned. First and foremost, I adore Holly Valance. She's fantastic. I was texting her throughout the day to find out what it was feeling like on the ground, as well as checking footage by yourself and Lauren, which was great to see, by the way. It was a big turning point, I think, in our country. The fact that so many people got out, ordinary people got out to show their patriotism for the country and for their faith. You know, Ant Middleton in that interview you just showed, he just kept saying, this is a Christian country, these are Christian values. And for the record, he's got my vote. I still have a vote in London. So it was great to see that Britain and Christianity, both of them were being celebrated across the board. Obviously, my good friend Bishop Kea Dwar, who features on my Sunday evening prayers at 8:30 p.m. British time on my X and on my YouTube. He held the prayer session in that booming Shakespearean voice, where he led people in the Lord's Prayer, which was outstanding.
There was a real religious presence. That look, here I am with a couple of your pals, Father.
There they are. There's
Yes.
Brett Murphy, Father Brett Murphy, a good man. I love this team. I love all the people. I love that there were so many Christian clergymen out there as well, leading the way, and the crosses were everywhere, as well as the St. George's Cross. You know, the flag was all across the country, as it should be. You know, obviously I'm in America right now, and I walk around, I see the American flag everywhere. Normal people put their flag up because they're proud of their country. And I think that's what's happening in Britain, finally. I was sad, very sad, Dan, not to be there in person. I have helped contribute over the years with these rallies. I came up with the name Unite the Kingdom, actually, so I'm very proud of that little contribution.
Did you?
I did.
Amazing, Father Calvin. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Well, that's a real contribution. No, and you were missed, but I think this is the beginning of a revolution, and I know you will be there very soon. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.